Hi everyone! In this video we will factor trinomials with the greatest common factor. Factor negative 5m squared minus 40m minus 60. The first thing we want to do whenever we encounter anything we're going to factor is look for a greatest common factor because it will give us much smaller numbers and variables to work with. So I'm going to look at each of these and see if there's something in common. There isn't a variable in common with all three terms, but I do see they're all negative. So I know that the greatest common factor will have a negative. And what will go into both or all three, 5, 40, and 60 is 5. They are all divisible by 5. So I can factor a negative 5 out of all of those. Negative 5m squared just leaves us with a positive m squared. And a negative 40 divided by a negative 5 is positive 8. And I still have the m. And negative 60 divided by a negative 5 gives us a positive 12. Now that we've factored out the greatest common factor, we have a trinomial with the form a equals 1. If that coefficient in front of the m is a 1 now, we only look at c and we find every factor of c. So we'll start, here's 12. We always start with 1 and itself, and then we find all of the other factors. 12 is even, so it's divisible by 2. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 is also divisible by 3. 3 times 4, and since 4 is the next number we would have checked here, we know that we're done because that would just move us up the other side. So now we're going to look at all of the signs of what we were given in the trinomial. We look at the last one, and this is a positive sign, so this tells us that the signs of our factors will be the same. Then we look at the sign in front of the middle term, and this tells us what those same signs will be. So because it's positive, that means that the factors will have positive numbers or positive signs because they are all going to be the same and they're all positive. Now we're going to find a combination to give us our middle number of positive 8. So let's go add them together. Positive 1 plus 12 equals positive 13. Positive 2 plus 6 gives us positive 8. That's exactly what we needed because we have an 8 as the middle term. So we will use the factors of 2 and 6 to replace our 8. So we have this negative 5 still on the outside. It's already been factored, so we don't need to do anything more with it. So now we're going to just fill it in with m squared. Replacing the 8m with the two factors we found of 2 and 6 give us plus 2m plus 6m. And we could have done the order reversed of that. I'm just going in the order that we found them, 2 and then 6. And then we have plus 12. Now that we've replaced the middle term with 2 and 6, we're going to factor by grouping. We're going to group our first two and our second two, and again look for another greatest common factor. The greatest common factor with the first two terms is m. So we'll take the m out, factor it out, and we're left with m plus 2. With the second two, the greatest common factor between 6m and 12 is a positive 6. So we will factor out a positive 6, leaving us with just m, and 12 divided by 6 is 2, so we have m plus 2. And we still have this negative 5 on the outside, and because it was being multiplied to everything in the middle, or inside, we're going to put brackets just so that it designates that it's on the outside of everything. It was the first thing we took out, so it's going to be on the outside. Now we're going to group yet again, but this time our two bigger terms here, and find the greatest common factor a third time. The greatest common factor between these two terms is m plus 2. So we'll factor out m plus 2, and that leaves behind m plus 6. So our next binomial is m plus 6. Now that everything is inside parentheses for our binomials, we can just move our negative 5 here instead of putting brackets again. If you feel more comfortable putting the brackets on, you can, but it's not necessary at this point. So now we have completely factored our trinomial by factoring out the greatest common factor and then factoring the trinomial. So we're all done.